After all this time, all this work put in, everything I've looked into, it's so hard to know where to go next. What's best for me? What's best for them? What's most likely to work out? It weighs heavily on my mind. But what if it didn't have to be my decision to make? What if I just left it up to chance? You know, theoretically, by doing this I'd be creating 6 different timelines. But who believes in that? Let's deal with Sentius.
Ave. Don't be so foolish. If you kill me, we all die. Allow me to explain. When I discovered the ritual to Proserpina, the instructions came with a warning about paradoxes. The crux of it is this. If you do anything to change the course of history in such a way that your very being here is impossible, you will have created a paradox. To illustrate, when the golden rule is broken, I will open the doorway that will bring you here to prevent it from being broken. If you manage to succeed in saving our lives, then I will have no reason to open the doorway, and you will never have come here. A paradox, you see? The same thing would happen if you, say, inadvertently, allowed me to die. If I can't summon you, then you can't be here, obviously. If either of those things were to happen, I am given to understand you would be flung back to your original time, having changed the course of history for us and yourself.
Yeah, so if I killed you, everyone would die, and I'd return to my original timeline with no way back.
Indeed.
I might need to rethink this.
Thank you. I'll be waiting here for news.
Yeah, I'll rethink it right now.
The many shall suffer for the sins of the one.
Oh, backwards. Huh. Strange.
Oh,
You're not old.
hi there. Gave me a bit of a fright. Thought I was in here alone. I'm Al.
Alworth? I came in here to find you.
Well, here I am. I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name.
I'm Gent.
Really? That's strange. I was just reading an old tablet I found here. Well, trying. My Latin is kinda rusty, but the last entry mentioned someone with the same name. It described an event about 2,000 years ago. Someone with your name appeared in the city out of the shrine of Proserpina and murdered a local magistrate, breaking some kind of ancient law. It said that the voice of a furious god rang out, and the ground trembled and statues sprang to life, firing arrows at the city's inhabitants. Apparently, as the citizens screamed and died in pain, the stranger just vanished in a flash of light.
Actually, that was me.
What? You're saying you were here 2,000 years ago? I'm not sure I understand.
When I first arrived here in present day, I found your corpse hanging from a noose.
I'm sorry, come again?
Still have the suicide note you carved into a tablet. Here.
Let me see that. God, why does this writing look so familiar? I've spent a lifetime in this place going around and around in circles.
Why would the writing look familiar
This
in a
is-
tablet? Do you
This
write
is
tablets
disturbing,
often?
But I don't understand how I could have written it.
It was written by a different version of you. I changed the past and your fate.
I'm not following.
I killed the man who opened a time portal and drew you back in time, preventing it from ever happening.
So you're saying, because a man from 2,000 years ago is dead, he never created a time portal, so I never went through it, and that's why I don't remember any of this.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Now you're getting it.
I guess. So what you're really saying is, you brought me back from the dead to let me die all over again. You saw the tablet. I spent a lifetime searching for a way out and never found one. I can't see how I could possibly find one now, so it seems like we're both gonna die here.
I regret nothing.
How can you say that? You murdered a man in cold blood, and now there's a city full of dead people. It's only a matter of time before we join them. I guess all those old Latin inscriptions were right. Pro peccata unius multis dolabunt. The many shall suffer for the sins of the one.
Two. Well, I guess I'm releasing Scintilla immediately.
You? Who are you? Did he send you?
I'm Gent and nobody sent me.
Do you know you're here? You have to help me escape before that monster comes back.
I know, we've had this conversation before.
What? God, am I going out of my mind? Are you going to let me go or not?
I will let you go. Forget the others. Let's get out of here.
Oh, thank you. Now follow... Wait. Did you hear that? He's here. He must be coming in through the door behind me. You distract him. Stay right here and keep him talking while I look for something I can use.
What did you do with Scintilla? Where is she?
You're human garbage, you know that?
So that is how it's going to be. Oh well, this doesn't change anything for me. It's a shame, really, if you'd just done what you were supposed to. You'd have been looping through time forever until you gave up and killed yourself. Just like that soft-hearted pleb, Al.
Wow. Wait, what? You remember Al?
Come now. Surely you didn't think you were the only one here who remembered everything. You see, my connection to the portal somehow preserves my memories from one loop to the next. Whether that was Proserpina's intention or a happy accident, I'll never know. But I'm surprised you hadn't noticed. Here I was thinking you were a little bit sharper than Al was. Or perhaps you're just more willing to break the rules. He was a moralistic fellow, never once compromised on his principles. And because of that fatal flaw, he relived this day many thousands of times before we finally had this conversation. I watched him come through the portal each time, always a little older, a little more...
You're disgusting.
A little more haunted. And when he finally saw the futility of it all, as you're about to, it broke him. He drank a jug of wine, tied a noose around his neck, and took his own life, just before he was shot with a golden arrow. The next time I awoke, you showed up, but you've caught up to where he was so quickly. I'd have preferred if you'd given me more time to enjoy the trappings of my success. How many extra days did you give me? Just 4? Not many. But don't worry, I'm sure there'll be another useful idiot who comes along after you're dead. In any case, there's no escape for you except the path that Al took, the path he wrote about on his tablet. What was it? Ah, yes. Better to end it all now than find out what awaits you beyond that portal. So, you discovered my secret. So what? What are you going to do about it?
Nothing. You asked me to figure out who was going to break the golden rule and I'd fail every time. You knew that there was a way out and even locked your own daughter to keep it a secret. Why?
Why? Isn't it obvious? Because I have grown attached to all this. My title, my beautiful villa, the sun on my face, the music of birds chirping. And as long as this day keeps repeating itself, I get to enjoy it all, over and over again, for eternity. Don't you see? I have found a way to prolong my life indefinitely, to cheat death. I have become, in effect, as immortal as the gods. Can you honestly say you would not wish the same for yourself?
Let's see you cheat your way out of this.
Do you really think you can take on a Decurion with that flimsy little bow?
I probably could, but I'm gonna let her have this one.
Who? Scintilla? Where is she?
I'm right here, Father.
Holy cow.
The many shall suffer for the sins of the one.
Come on, we have to go.
Alright, go, go, go.
What's happening to you? That light, it's so bright.
Whoa. Backwards.
Hi there. Gave me a bit of a fright. Thought I was in here alone. I'm Al.
Alworth? I came in here to find you.
Well, here I am. I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name.
I'm Gent.
Really? That's strange. I was just reading an old tablet I found here. Well, trying. My Latin is kinda rusty, but the last entry mentioned someone with the same name. It described an event about 2,000 years ago. Someone with your name appeared in the city out of the shrine of Proserpina. Freed an imprisoned woman named Scintilla, who then murdered her captor, breaking some kind of ancient law. It said the attack caused golden statues to come alive, hunting down everyone in the city and turning them into gold. Apparently, the only person to survive was Scintilla, while the stranger disappeared in a flash of light.
Actually, that was me.
What? You're saying you were here 2,000 years ago? I'm not sure I understand.
When I first arrived here in the present day, I found your corpse hanging from a noose.
I'm sorry, come again?
I still have the suicide note carved into a tablet. Here.
Let me see that. God, why does this writing look so familiar? I've spent a lifetime in this place going around and around in circles. This is disturbing. But I don't understand how I could have written it.
It was written by a different version of you. I changed the past and your fate.
I'm not following.
I helped Scintilla kill the man who opened a time portal and drew you back in time, preventing it from ever happening.
So you're saying, because a man from 2,000 years ago is dead, he never created a time portal, so I never went through it, and that's why I don't remember any of this.
Now you're getting it.
I guess you saved my life then, as well as helping that poor woman to escape. That's a lot to take in.
Enough talk. How do we get out of this place?
Maybe we can escape through the same aqueduct Scintilla used, if we can find it.
It's right here in the cistern. Follow me. You coming now? Buddy?
I'm gonna pause here for a moment and make sure nobody else has ever lured into this temple.
That's a good idea.
You go on ahead. I'll be there soon.
It's eerily yellow. Never saw this place in the daytime, I'm realizing. Pretty beautiful.
You're back. But you're alone. Does that mean you didn't find Al?
I found him. He'll be here in a moment.
Oh, what a relief. Thank you so much. I was beginning to think you'd both become trapped in there. Why don't you tell me what you discovered while we wait?
I discovered your real name is Karen. Or was it Curti?
Ah, I see. I thought you might. Well, now you know. I suppose you have questions.
Holy cow. Who are you really?
You can just call me Charon, if you like. I am sorry I was not completely honest with you when we first met. I do not enjoy deceiving people. Believe me, I do not. But I have learned, from 5,000 years of experience, that most people find comfort in familiarity, in gradual change, and coming to see the truth in their own time.
What truth is that?
That you died, of course. You were dead when I brought you here. My role, as the servant of the god of the underworld, has always been to assist the chosen to cross the threshold from the land of the living to the land of the dead.
How did I die?
Usually, when people do not remember how they died, it is because they suffered a terrible trauma. Most souls would rather not remember. Ask yourself honestly, do you really want to know?
Yeah, I want to know.
As you wish. You were murdered. You were on a mission to recover a collection of stolen relics, including 2 silver coins of ancient origin, from a powerful criminal. You succeeded, but as you escaped into the street, you were followed by 2 of his men. A passing motorist saw you being pursued and offered to you a ride, but the men in pursuit destroyed the vehicle with you
Oh
in it.
no.
There was nothing you or your ally could have done. He died instantly at the scene, and you followed a few hours later.
Was that Al?
That man's name
Oh my
was
gosh!
Al Worth.
Oh, I
You
got
were
Al
each in
killed.
possession of a sacred coin, called Charon's Opal by some, and so it was my duty to bring you here.
What's so special about these coins?
Perhaps you have heard the tales of the Greeks and Romans burying their dead with a coin in their mouths, to pay the ferryman for passage across the river. Well, those stories contained a seed of truth, but not any coin would do.
Fascinating.
A long time ago, my master created 1,000 silver coins and had me distribute them across the world. My orders were simple. Whenever a person died in possession of a coin, I was to locate them and ferry them here.
Why?
That is a question you would have to ask him, if that were still possible, in light of the path you have chosen. I am just his servant, doing his bidding. Only now, I find myself bereft of purpose. You see, the coins on you and Al were the last of the 1,000 in existence. There is nobody else to ferry here, nobody to keep you company. After 5,000 years, the underworld has finally run its course.
Can you return us to the land of the living?
I see no point in keeping you here, but I have to ask one thing. That you keep this to yourself.
Look! Here comes Al now. Al! It's so good to see you. You were gone so long I thought I'd never see you again.
Kinda lost track of time in there. You wouldn't believe what we found. The ruins of a long-forgotten city. And there was a tablet describing an event 2,000 years ago. Supposedly, the city was destroyed when a woman murdered a tyrant with the help of, well, my new friend here. I know how crazy that sounds.
Maybe not that crazy. That woman. I don't suppose her name was Scintilla?
How could you... What?
She left a tablet of her own. I stumbled across it while I was waiting here. I think she meant for you to read it. Here, take a look.
I don't know what became of you, or if you'll ever read this, but I want you to know that I will never forget you, or what you did for me. It pains me that so many dear friends were not so fortunate. Ulpius, Cynthia, Lucretia, Horatius, Galerius, poor Dooley, and the others. But please understand, their blood is on my hands, not yours. I will live with the consequences of my actions, and all I can do is move forward, trying to show others the same compassion you showed me. I promise you that saving my life will not be for nothing. Scintilla.
Sounds like you meant a lot to her. I'd love to hear your story, but first, you two look exhausted. Why don't you hop in my boat and rest while I ferry you back to civilization?
Sounds good to me.
And you? Are you ready to go home?
Alright, Karen. Ferry us home. A 3. I guess we reset things and try to save everything while Scintilla goes on her revenge trip.
The many shall suffer for the sins of the one.
Oh, first time I get to watch Cynthius do his thing. Come on, come on. Holy cow, vaporized. I heard the last end of his prayer. Alright, Galerius.
Salve, friend.
Golden Rule is about to be broken soon. I need you to quietly get everyone except Cynthius ready to run into the upper cistern when the ground starts to rumble.
What? That's a big ask. But something tells me you're not kidding. Alright, I'm gonna stick my neck out and believe you. But I doubt I'll be able to gather more than a handful of people.
Run.
You? Who are you? Did he send you?
Nope.
Do you know you're here? You have to help me escape before that monster comes back.
I know, we've had this conversation before.
What? God, am I going out of my mind? Are you going to let me go or not?
I told Galerius to lead everyone here when the Golden Rule is broken so they can escape too.
How did you know? Wait, did you hear that? He's here. He must be coming in through the door behind me. You distract him. Stay right here and keep him talking while I look for something I can use.
There you are. Scumbag.
What did you do with Scintilla? Where is she?
As if I'd tell you.
So that is how it's going to be. Oh well, this doesn't change anything for me. It's a shame, really. If you'd just done what you were supposed to, you'd have been looping through time forever until you gave up and killed yourself. Just like that soft-hearted pleb, Al.
Wait, what?
Come now. Surely you didn't think you were the only one here who remembered everything. You see, my connection to the portal somehow preserves my memories from one loop to the next. Whether that was Proserpina's intention or a happy accident, I'll never know. But I'm surprised you hadn't noticed. Here I was thinking you were a little bit sharper than Al was. Or perhaps you're just more willing to break the rules. He was a moralistic fellow, never once compromised on his principles. And because of that fatal flaw, he relived this day many thousands of times before we finally had this conversation. I watched him come through the portal each time, always a little older, a little more disheveled, a little more haunted. And when he finally saw the futility of it all, as you're about to, it broke him. He drank a jug of wine, tied
There's
a
no
noose
futility
around
to
his
this.
neck,
I'm saving
and
everyone.
took his own life, just before he was shot with a golden arrow. The next time I awoke, you showed up, but you've caught up to where he was so quickly. I'd have preferred if you'd given me more time to enjoy the trappings of my success. How many extra days did you give me? Just the 5? Not a lot compared with Al, but I've seized every day, nonetheless. In any case, there's no escape for you except the path that Al took, the path he wrote about on his tablet. What was it? Ah, yes. Better to end it all now than find out what awaits you beyond that portal. So, you discovered my secret. So what? What are you going to do about it?
Oh, I'm not going to let you hurt her. You're going to die a painful death for
Do
this.
you really think you can take on a Decurion with that flimsy little bow?
Actually, I was thinking about using this.
Is that supposed to be intimidating? I have no idea what that little thing is. What are you going to do? Throw it at me?
Kinda. I'm going to put a hole in your head. It's called a gun. It's like a miniature ballista, and it'll punch right through your armor.
Nonsense. Not even the gods possess such weapons.
Die. Gentleman could come through the door.
The many shall suffer for the sins of the one.
Come on! We have to go! The others should be right behind us. Hey! What's happening to you? That light, it's so bright.
Oh, backwards. Ow, right.
Hi there. Gave me a bit of a fray. Thought I was in here alone. I'm Al.
Alworth? I came in here to find you.
Well, here I am. I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name.
I'm Gent. I was hoping you'd know who I am.
Funny you should ask. I was just reading an old tablet I found here. Well, trying. My Latin is kinda rusty, but the last entry mentioned someone with the same name. It described an event about 2,000 years ago. Someone with your name appeared in the city out of the shrine of Proserpina. Freed an imprisoned woman named Scintilla, who then murdered her captor, breaking some kind of ancient law. It said the attack caused golden statues to come alive, hunting down everyone in the city and turning them into gold. Apparently, Scintilla and a handful of other citizens managed to escape, while the stranger disappeared in a flash of light.
Weird. That definitely wasn't me.
I didn't for one moment think it was, but the way you say that makes me wonder. I mean, how many people with that name could there be in this place?
Not many.
I don't understand how you could have been here 2,000 years ago.
When I first arrived here, in present day, I found your corpse hanging from a noose.
I'm sorry, come again?
So the suicide note.
Let me see that. God, why does this writing look so familiar? I've spent a lifetime in this place going around and around in circles. This is disturbing, but I don't understand how I could have written it.
It was written by a different version of you. I changed the past and your fate.
I'm not following.
I helped Scintilla kill a man who opened up a time portal and drew you back in time, preventing it from ever happening.
So you're saying, because a man from 2,000 years ago is dead, he never created a time portal, so I never went through it, and that's why I don't remember any of this.
Now you're getting
I
it.
guess you saved my life then, as well as helping a bunch of others to escape. That's a lot to take in.
Enough talk. How about you get you out of this place?
Maybe we can escape through the same aqueduct Centilla used, if we can find it.
Let's write down the sister. Let's see how everyone else fared. Come on, Al. What you doing, buddy?
I'm gonna pause here for a moment and make sure nobody else has ever lured into this temple.
Good idea.
You go on ahead, and I'll be there soon.
You're back! But you're alone. Does that mean you didn't find Al?
I found him. He'll be here in a moment.
Oh, what a relief. Thank you so much. I was beginning to think you'd both become trapped in there. Why don't you tell me what you discovered while we wait?
I discovered your real name is Karen. Or was it Kurti?
Ah, I see. I thought you might. Well, now you know. I suppose you have questions.
Who are you really?
You can just call me Caron, if you like. I am sorry I was not completely honest with you when we first met. I do not enjoy deceiving people. Believe me, I do not. But I have learned, from 5,000 years of experience, that most people find comfort in familiarity, in gradual change, and coming to see the truth in their own time.
What truth is that?
That you died, of course. You were dead when I brought you here. My role, as the servant of the god of the underworld, has always been to assist the chosen to cross the threshold from the land of the living to the land of the dead.
How did I die?
Usually, when people do not remember how they died, it is because they suffered a terrible trauma. Most souls would rather not remember. Ask yourself honestly, do you really want to know?
Well, I can suppose that it was from a sucking chest wound, so I suppose not.
A wise decision. All you need to know is that you and Al died in possession of a sacred silver coin.
What's special about the coins?
Perhaps you have heard the tales of the Greeks and Romans burying their dead with a coin in their mouths to pay the ferrymen for passage across the river. Well, those stories contained a seed of truth, but not any coin would do. A long time ago, my master created 1,000 silver coins and had me distribute them across the world. My orders were simple. Whenever a person died in possession of a coin, I was to locate them and ferry them here.
Why?
That is a question you would have to ask him, if that were still possible, in light of the path you have chosen. I am just his servant, doing his bidding. Only now, I find myself bereft of purpose. You see, the coins on you and Al were the last of the 1,000 in existence. There is nobody else to ferry here. Nobody to keep you company. After 5,000 years, the underworld has finally run its course.
And that means that Sentius, no matter how things turned out, would have lost his eternal life, eventually anyway, once I finally died. So, he was screwed anyway. It's nice to know that. Can you return us to the land of the living?
I see no point in keeping you here. But I have to ask one thing. That you keep this to yourself.
Look! Here comes Al now. Al! It's so good to see you. You were gone so long I thought I'd never see you again.
Kinda lost track of time in there. You wouldn't believe what we found. The ruins of a long-forgotten city. And there was a tablet describing an event 2,000 years ago. Supposedly, the city was destroyed when a woman murdered a tyrant with the help of, well, my new friend here. I know how crazy that sounds.
Maybe not that crazy. That woman. I don't suppose her name was Centilla?
How could you... What?
She left a tablet of her own. I stumbled across it while I was waiting here. I think she meant for you to read it. Here,
Al must be in
take a look.
complete confusion.
I don't know what became of you, or if you'll ever read this, but Octavia, Lucretia, Horatius, Equitia, and I will never forget you, or what you did for us. It pains us that so many of our dear friends were not so fortunate, including Ulpius and Galerius, who heroically tried to rescue Dooley, but never made it back. But there is no point dwelling on what might have been. All we can do is take this gift you've given us and try to show others the same compassion you showed us. We promise you that saving our lives was not for nothing. Scintilla et al.
Sounds like you meant a lot to her. I'd love to hear your story, but first, you two look exhausted. Why don't you hop in my boat and rest while I ferry you back to civilization?
Sounds good to me.
And you? Are you ready to go home?
Alright, Karen. Ferry us home. Before. Well. I can fix everything. I can save myself all this trouble by just taking the same choice as Al. Five. My original intention. Egypt. Osiris. Greek. Hades. Roman. Pluto. Sumerian. Finally. To be expected. Pluto, Hades, Osiris, Nurgle. Whoever you are, I speak your name. Hades, Lord of Many, grant me an audience. Nurgle, the Fierce One, grant me an audience. Osiris, Lord of Silence, grant me an audience. Pluto, Father of Riches, grant me an audience. The Fierce One. Hades. No, Osiris, Lord of Silence. Grant me an audience. Hades, Lord of Many. Grant me an audience. Pluto, Father of Riches. Grant me an audience. Either I had to say all of his names, or he's just going by his current one. Almost there. Pluto, father of riches. Oh! Hades, lord of many. Grant me an audience. Oh, that's so cool. Osiris, Lord of Silence, grant me an audience. Wow, this temple is impossibly deep. This is TARDIS levels. Look how far back that is. Nurgle, the Fierce One, grant me an audience. Whoa. Whoa, what kind of Assassin's Creed Aperture Science? What the heck? Oh my gosh, that's Earth? So we're not even on Earth. Oh, is that it? So it's all an alien conspiracy. Yeah, we do. Who? Karen? I'm guessing you're Proserpina? And you're captured.
And here you are. Allow me to introduce myself. As you have already gathered, I've been known by many names. Nergal to the Sumerians, Osiris to the Egyptians, Hades to the Greeks, and Pluto to the Romans. But the one constant through it all has been my title, God of the Underworld. And I've been watching you with curiosity, mortal, ever since your arrival. You are unlike the others, aren't you? And what is more, you carry a weapon that was never intended for mortals to wield, and you do it so brazenly that there will be time for your reckoning later. First, as a reward for undoing the desecration of my obelisk, I will allow you to satisfy your curiosity. Ask what you will.
What's your story?
My story is many thousands of years long. You will need to be more specific. What do you wish to know?
Literally everything. You're a god?
It is a matter of perspective. God is a label I was given by you mortals, not one I gave myself. Your ancestors revered me because to them, my knowledge and technology made me incomprehensibly powerful, just as you might seem so to an insect. But despite all that, there are rules even I must obey.
Why do you look and sound like a man?
My kin and I all adopted this form long ago, so that we might better understand and communicate with your kind. In time, we grew fond of the sensory delights it affords. Desire, joy, ecstasy, even rage and sorrow, while an acquired taste can be addictive.
Fair enough. May I see your true form?
No. Long ago, I swore to Proserpina that I would remain in this form for as long as we remained among your kind. I must honor that.
Who's the woman to your left?
This is my beloved.
And she's in a cage.
Like me, she has been known by many names. Ereshkigal to the Sumerians, Isis to the Egyptians, Persephone to the Greeks, and Proserpina to the Romans. Or perhaps you might know her as the goddess of springtime, the cycle of life and renewal.
I won't let him know.
Your gaze lingers too long.
Sorry. Didn't mean to look at your girl. Who's that to your right?
That is my servant. You would have met by the river, though she wears many faces and goes by many names. Kumutabal to the Sumerians, Kirti to the Egyptians, Charon to the Greeks, and Charon to the Romans. Her role is to ferry souls between the mortal world and this one, and to make their transition as seamless as possible. For that, she earned herself the infamous, if erroneous, moniker, the Ferryman. You will talk more later. For now, ask your questions.
Now let's talk about something else.
As you wish.
What is this place?
It has come to be known simply as the Underworld, and it exists because of a wager I made long ago.
What was the wager you made?
That is a long story, one that began over 3,000 years ago and continues to this day. You see, long ago my kin and I set out from our home on Elysium to search for other forms of life among the stars. We discovered your planet and witnessed your kind evolving from primates into something lawless and barbaric. You all but destroyed yourselves, your 2 short lives being extinguished by violence and ignorance and disease. Yet Proserpina saw raw potential in you, and persuaded the rest of us it would be squandered without our intervention and stewardship. So we revealed ourselves to your people in a place called Sumer. We offered guidance in agriculture, toolcraft, and law, and you called us gods. For a time you flourished, but soon you were too many for us to oversee. And as you spread from that cradle of civilization, we saw something disturbing. We had sown the seeds of dependency and confusion, and soon you returned to your old ways of violence and ignorance, this time in our name. My kin had seen enough, and gave up on your kind, condemning you as barbaric and chaotic, scarcely more than animals. We began preparations to return to Elysium, our home world, a utopia unspoilt by conflict and unimaginable in its beauty.
So how
but
did you...
Proserpina could not bear to abandon your kind without guidance, and knowing it would force the rest of us to leave her behind, she made an extraordinary sacrifice. She gave up her immortality to descend permanently to the ranks of humankind.
That's why.
And so she began her inescapable trajectory toward death. Horrified, I acted swiftly. I placed her in suspended animation in a deep frozen sleep to prevent age and sickness from claiming her. And then I pleaded with Proserpina's father, who the Romans called Jupiter, to bring her with us to Elysium. It was and is my hope that once there, we might one day learn to undo what she has done to herself. But he refused. I did everything I could to persuade him, but he would not relent. He would rigidly uphold his final pronouncement. Humans were unworthy of ascension to Elysium, and no exceptions would be made. But seeing that I was aggrieved, he proposed a wager, the terms of which were as follows. If even one human city could prove itself capable of living without sin for a single year, then Proserpina and all of humanity would be permitted to join us in Elysium. My part would be to remain behind, the last of my kind, to watch over you, without interfering, and to sit in silent judgment. And so my reward has been to languish here, enduring a 3,000-year winter, waiting for the day your kind proves itself worthy of her faith in you, so that I might take her with me to Elysium and unthaw my goddess of springtime.
Wow.
And here I am, after all this time, still waiting.
Who are your kin?
There were also gods who, like me, have been known by many names, but perhaps you knew them by their Roman names. Our leader, Jupiter, as well as Neptune, Saturn, Juno, Minerva, Mars, Venus, Apollo, Diana, Vulcan, Vesta, Ceres, and of course, my beloved Proserpina.
Who built the city?
As the first wave of your kind arrived from Sumer, I had them build a city in their own fashion, so that they might be comfortable and recreate their lives here. I had them build the entrance as a vertical shaft leading to baths, to cleanse them of the sins of their former lives, and to prevent escape. I watched wave after wave of Sumerians arrive, and as their civilization declined over the centuries, they were replaced by Egyptians. Of course, believing themselves to be the superior civilization, the Egyptians promptly built over what had been built before, and made all the same mistakes. After another 1,000 years, the Greeks began to arrive, and then the Romans, and they all did the same thing. They built upon the underworlds of their predecessors, renamed their gods, and ensured their foundations were forgotten.
How did you decide who comes here?
To ensure the wager was fair, it was important that my subjects were chosen at random. To this end, I had my servant distribute 1,000 tokens fashioned from silver, a rare element at the time, across all of Sumer. Whoever died while in possession of one of them would be located by my servant and ferried to this place, with no memory of how they arrived. As the tokens were discovered, they were traded, smelted, and fashioned into trinkets, and eventually coins, spreading to Egypt like seeds on the wind. Later, when they spread to Greece, they would come to be known as Charon's obol, or as coins for the ferryman. Some placed coins in the mouths of their dead, hoping they would awaken here, though they had no way of knowing which coins were fashioned from the original tokens. In fact, almost all of the tokens are accounted for, only 2 remain. And so after this wave destroys itself, as it is destined to do, your kind will have squandered the last of its potential to ascend beyond this rock, and Proserpina's along with it.
How did the humans learn about the underworld? Okay, before that though, you didn't mention Charon, or Kerti, or whoever, as one of the creatures from Elysium, like you are, so that makes me think that they aren't one, or you created them, or they are a human that you turned into something. So I'd like to know more about that, but there's no option to ask. How did the humans learn about the underworld?
It is a regrettable story. One of the first men who came to this place was a king of Sumer, and a troublemaker. To be rid of him, I returned him to his people, on the condition that my servant erased his memories of this place. But the erasure did not take completely, and he told stories of this place as if describing memories of a dream. His tales were committed to writing, which came to be known as the Epic of Gilgamesh, and his words were twisted and distorted over generations.
I read that story.
Later, the Egyptians would adapt Sumer's stories of the underworld, making them wildly intricate and labyrinthine. Their Book of the Dead and Book of Gates bore less and less resemblance to this place, in their priests' pursuit of profit. Then, when the Greeks began to arrive, they proved far more cunning, and in a series of incidents that will not be repeated, 5 of them escaped. A warrior named Heracles, 2 kings named Sisyphus and Theseus,
So they all actually did escape.
and a Trojan named Aeneas. They each told embellished tales of this place, how to get here, and how to escape. And so from Sumer to Egypt, Greece to Rome, your kind has always told each other stories about this place, though each story contained only a seed of truth.
Let's talk about something else.
Of course.
Are you responsible for the Golden Rule?
That is merely the name your people have given to it, but yes, it is my doing.
Why turn people into gold?
That is a story dating back to the very first wave. After the Sumerians finished building their city, the self-declared ruler threw a banquet to celebrate. Now this man was unmarried, and many women were vying to become his wife, a prestigious position of power and influence in a new world. Of all the women, 2 were particularly ambitious. Both were beautiful, and both arrived at the banquet wearing eye-catching dresses and painted faces, their hair woven in elaborate fashion. The first woman, recognizing that she would require an advantage to win the ruler's affection, draped herself in jewelry, ornate necklaces, bracelets, and rings fashioned from gold. Seeing this ostentatious display, the second woman grew envious, for she had no such jewelry at her disposal. She prayed aloud to any gods that would listen to cover her in gold, and when her prayer went unanswered, she took matters into her own hands.
Jeez.
While the others indulged at the banquet, the second woman summoned the first for a discussion in a quiet place. She checked that nobody was watching and pushed her rival from the top of the ziggurat, where she broke her neck on the rocks below. But I was watching, and I decided to answer her prayer. I took the golden bow left behind by Diana, and I shot that woman in the heart, covering her from head to toe in a layer of molten gold. And I left her to stand there, that she might serve as a grim reminder of what befalls those who sin in my domain. But that was not enough, for the entire city was tainted by her sin, and the wager could no longer be won. So I had no choice but to wipe the slate clean. I gilded them all, to make way for a new wave, and began the wager again. And to this day, each of them, and all who came after, line the halls of this city, inanimate but conscious, suspended in time with only their sight and hearing preserved, so they may bear witness to and lament the folly of your kind for eternity, as silent golden sentinels.
So, from my understanding, I feel for you, but also, like, geez. Kind of punishing everyone for one thing, and it's just... Why not send them all back? You had the power to do so. Get another couple random people. Okay. How do you know when people sin?
I'm able to commune with all of the statues in the city. Their ears are my ears, and their eyes are my eyes.
Is Proserpina connected to the statues in the same way?
If she was still conscious, I suppose she could, but she's not. Why do you ask?
No reason.
Then what an odd question.
What do you consider a sin?
I've always considered that the cornerstone of morality is the ability to determine right from wrong on one's own. No attempt to lay out rules like your Code of Hammurabi or your 12 Tables of the Roman Republic can ever cover all possible scenarios. This should come as no surprise to you, since the core principle has been expressed in many forms by many of your civilizations. The Egyptians made a rudimentary attempt with do to the doer to make him do. The Greeks refined it with avoid doing what you would blame others for doing. The Roman Stoics added, treat your inferior as you would wish your superior to treat you. Even the so-called cultists hiding among you often say, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. It is the simplest of concepts, and each one of you is born with the faculties required to apply it to any situation. Yet none of the peoples who expressed this rule were able to uphold it. Curious, is it not?
It doesn't seem like you've been upholding it either.
Enough. You clearly know nothing.
Where do these golden bows come from?
When my kin departed, they left behind many relics which I inherited. A consolation prize of sorts. The golden bow originally belonged to one of my kin, who the Romans called Diana. As my collection of golden statues grew, I chose the most ferocious among them, and equipped them each with a duplicate of her bow, and tasked them with hunting down the Forsaken at my behest. They became known simply as Furies.
So you're responsible for destroying all these lives.
I give your kind a second chance at life, as well as ample warning about my law. And when you disobey, and you always disobey, you force my hand, bringing terrible suffering upon yourselves. And so you ask if I am the one destroying your lives. And I say, no, you destroy yourselves. I am merely the means by which you do it.
That's a cold line. I'm telling you right now. I respect it. I've seen some terrible things here that you didn't consider a sin. How could you let them happen?
Do you plan to speak in sweeping generalizations, or are you going to give me an example?
Abduction.
Abduction? You mean the magistrate imprisoning his daughter in the cistern, I take it?
Yes.
He did so because she sought to escape. A sin I take particularly seriously. Better that he stops her from escaping, albeit brutishly, than I have to wipe out this entire city to punish her. Wouldn't you agree?
From your point of view, I guess fair enough, but I disagree with it. He did abduct her, and he abducted her for different reasons than you wanted. That's the point. His reasons were different. He didn't abduct her for your so-called good reasons.
Supposing you're right, and my law has been broken, and I should turn you all to gold immediately. Is that what you want?
No, of course not. Never mind.
Now tell me, what other sins do you believe I have overlooked?
Suicide.
I have seen no such thing, but in any case, taking one's own life is a self-directed act. It is not one that is done to others, however they may be affected by it. Therefore, it cannot be said that one who commits suicide has done anything unto others.
Seems like an extremely literal interpretation of the rule.
Applying this rule always requires us to interpret the meaning of the words. A literal interpretation helps to minimize the ambiguities of your primitive language.
If our language is full of ambiguity, doesn't that make the rule inherently subjective and unreliable?
Supposing you're right, and my law has been broken, and I should turn you all to gold immediately. Is that what you want?
No.
Now tell me, what
Price gouging for life-saving
the
medicine.
merchant? How is that inconsistent with the rule I've outlined?
He wouldn't want someone else to demand the outrageous price for the medicine he needed if he was dying.
I disagree. Having watched this merchant, that is precisely what he would expect from others, and he would be quite capable of paying the price anyway.
You can't know what he would expect, you're just speculating.
Applying this rule always requires speculation to some degree. It requires us to ask what another person would want if they found themselves in another situation.
Doesn't that make it inherently subjective and unreliable?
Not if we're wise enough to know the mind of man.
And you think you know the minds of other people?
Supposing you're right.
No, let's continue.
Now,
A scam.
ah, the tavern keeper, yes? How is that inconsistent with the rule?
She wouldn't want someone else to sell her hemlock if she thought she was buying a means of escape.
I disagree. Having watched that tavern keeper, that is precisely what she would expect from others. She would view it as a game, one she intends to win. Applying this rule always requires... Now tell me,
Debt
you
bondage.
speak of the moneylender. How is that inconsistent with the rule?
He wouldn't want to be trapped in a 30-year labor contract because of a loan.
And he would never have signed a contract pledging his labor for 30 years. All he did was enforce the terms of a contract signed voluntarily.
Yes, but
by
he
others.
tricked someone into it. The whole concept of debt bondage, like slavery, is unethical. It's illegal under international law where I'm from. Fair enough. Well, yeah.
Ignoring your irritating sense of moral superiority, this is interesting. I'm curious, how do people escape poverty where you're from?
It's customary to take a loan to buy a house, and in some places to pay for an education.
I see. And how long might it take such a
Oh,
person
God.
to repay their debt?
You got me. It depends. Typically decades, sometimes their entire life.
I fail to see how your system of loans is significantly different to a debt bondsman signing over his labor for 30 years.
It's not the same. Well, there is a difference, but there's also not a difference, if you know what I mean. Like, there's a difference in the fact that I still have the freedom to go about my life and do what I want. Just at the end of the day, I have to pay back the money I took. Having college loans, I understand this. But those college loans don't interfere with my everyday life. It's not the same thing. Yeah, okay.
Now
Experiments on the golden statues.
the midwife in the palace, yes. How is that inconsistent with the rule?
She wouldn't want to be experimented on if she was gilded.
The rule is do unto others, meaning other people. Those statues are something else now.
That's what I figured your answer would
Bloodless
be.
shadows, mere shapes of their former selves. They are forsaken. What happens to them is no concern of mine.
Yeah, but... 'Cause I
Now
see.
tell me, what other...
It's no wonder people say the gods are cruel. This just shows how unreliable and subjective your moral code is. You're no better at judging right from wrong than any human.
Do you honestly think you could do better?
No, but that's my point. Nobody's grasp of right to wrong is so perfect that it can be trusted with all this power. You've become a tyrant.
I should strike you down for that.
And if you did, you'd be proving my point.
Now, did you have any other questions before your reckoning?
Let's talk about something else.
Very well.
That's all the questions I
Good.
had.
Then now it is time for your reckoning. Only, it seems, something is wrong. It has long been within my power to see into the hearts of mortals and weigh their deeds in life. But when I peer into you, I see only a blank slate, as if you did not exist until you appeared in this city. How is this possible? Charon, where did you find this one?
I do not remember ferrying you. How did you come here?
Maybe you're getting forgetful in your old age.
You would have us believe that my servant merely forgot bringing you here.
No, I arrive here in about 2,000 years.
If that is true, then I sense the intervention of someone powerful.
How did you come to be in this time, mortal? Who brought you here?
He cannot know.
I was hoping you could tell me.
I do not know. My kin departed long ago, and Proserpina has slumbered for 3,000 years.
Guess that means you don't know everything that goes on here. Shouldn't you know this as the god of the underworld?
Tread lightly, mortal. Enough of this. It seems I will need to put your reckoning on hold for now. But answer this. Why have you come here? What is it you seek?
I'd like you to put an end to the golden rule.
Your hubris is amusing, so I will allow you to make your case. But I warn you, if you anger me or waste my time with lies or wrong-headed arguments, you face death here. So, tell me, why should I put an end to the so-called golden rule?
If you're doing this for love, you should know that Proserpina doesn't love you. Ooh, no way. How can you expect us to live without sin if you can't do it yourself? Golden rule is corrupting the city and ensuring you'll never win the wager. You expect us to live without sin if you can't do it yourself. The golden rule is corrupting the city and ensuring you'll never win the wager. That's a good point.
How so? And be specific. You have made a grave allegation, and I expect you to back it up.
Ducey is surprised gathering for life-saving medicine because he knows no one can take it by force. Rufus becomes so paranoid that he's jumping at shadows, like Virgil's sexuality. Aurelius is exploiting other people's desperation to escape by selling him hemlock. Malleus is trapped people in debt bondage by convincing him that rebelling would break the law. He knows no one can take it by force.
True. I have witnessed him doing that.
Exactly. Rufus becomes so paranoid that he's jumping at shadows.
He is a volatile and confused fellow, that one.
Aurelius is exploiting people.
I admit, I have grown disturbed watching.
Thank you. Malleus has trapped people in debt bondage by convincing that rebelling would break the law.
His cruelty does seem to grow greater by the day. If you're right, my involvement has corrupted the very thing I sought to observe impartially. But if I were to accept that, are you telling me these humans could coexist peacefully, without theft or violence, without my law?
No, but humans need to be able to use force in exceptional circumstances to correct their societies. I don't think I can honestly tell you the first thing.
How so?
We use violence to discourage bad behavior, to neutralize criminals, and to overthrow tyrants.
And how is that working for you?
Where I'm from, 2,000 years in the future is working pretty well. On average, life expectancies are climbing and crime rates are declining.
So you say, and yet your world is still imperfect.
Our world will always be imperfect, but the kind of force required to create a utopia will inevitably result in tyranny.
You have spoken eloquently, and yet, if what you say is true, it follows that my wager was fatally flawed from the beginning. But that would mean Jupiter, Proserpina's father, who knew more about you than anyone, proposed a wager I could never win. Why would he do that?
Because he's a jerk. Perhaps he wanted you to abandon the wager so Proserpina would be free from you. Perhaps he felt threatened by you and didn't want a potential challenger in Elysium. Perhaps he left you behind because even your own kin didn't want you. Perhaps he felt threatened by you and didn't want a potential challenger.
Perhaps. But if that was so, surely I would have sensed his deception. How could I have been so blind for so long?
You're no better than us, you're a monster on a power trip. Perhaps you took on human form, you also took human foibles as well. Perhaps you're blind by your love for Proserpina. It's very human.
Your words sting me, mortal. But perhaps it is what I deserve. As difficult as this is to admit, I have suspected as much for a long time now. And I cannot deny it any longer. I've been so fixated on taking my beloved to Elysium that every time one of you sinned, it wore away my hope of being with her again. In time, I began to despise your kind for making her believe that you could ever be better than you are. But my rage was not born of malice, quite the opposite. Everything I have done, I did because I loved her. Who knew this empathy of yours, which you celebrate so much, could have such a dark underside? This has gone on too long. It is time for me to let go of this form, of her, of all of you. But know this, if I abandon the wager and leave for Elysium, neither she nor your kind may ever ascend.
Here's my thing. I had plenty of opportunities to call him out for, like, kidnapping her or something, but as I see it, from this perspective at least, all those stories were made up by the Greeks and the Romans. I don't even think in the Egyptian mythology Osiris ever kidnapped Iris. I don't think that ever happened. And I don't know enough about Sumerian civilization to know anything. I'm pretty sure that kind of came from the Greeks in this case. So that would mean that he probably just kept her around because he wanted her. I guess technically he kidnapped her by keeping her ageless and everything, but it wasn't a kidnapping of just like, oh, I'm just randomly going to kidnap someone. He didn't want her to die, and I can understand that a lot more than the original kidnapping myth. So, why can't we go to Elysium?
Because doing so would violate the rules of my sacred agreement with Jupiter, and you would receive a hostile reception. The best I can do is return you to the land of the living. I will have Charon make arrangements to ferry the others. But as for you, be aware you will be separated from the rest.
Why?
Once this exodus begins, the events that brought you to this moment will never have taken place, and you will have created a paradox. What will become of you is difficult to predict, but that is the risk you have taken by interfering in the natural flow of time. Now, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Farewell, mortal.
Farewell, Nurgle. Backwards. The temple.
Oh. Hi there. Gave me a bit of a fright. Thought I was in here alone. I'm Al.
Alworth? I came here to find you.
Well, here I am. I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name.
I'm Gent.
Oh, did that lady in the forest send you in here after me? I guess I lost track of time, learning about the history of this place, and it is extraordinary. I'm fairly certain you and I are the first people to set foot in this city for about 2,000 years. Fortunately for us, the last person in here was a Roman man named Galerius, who inscribed an account into a tablet. Apparently, there was a community of 20-something people trapped in here, and living in fear of a curse they called the Golden Rule. They believed that if even one person sinned, an unknown god would cast them all into gold, like the 1,000 people who'd lived here before them. Then, one day, just as Galerius had finished praying for a good harvest at the shrine of Proserpina, an oracle appeared and told him how to solve the ills of the city, like saving the life of a dying woman, preventing the suicide of a man in debt bondage, freeing a falsely accused prisoner, foiling an assassination attempt, and so on. Meanwhile, the oracle walked up to the temple of the mysterious god, this one right here, and demanded an audience. And the doors just opened up to him. Nobody knows what went on in there, but Galerius wrote the oracle must have been more persuasive than Odysseus, because the next thing he knew, the ground shook and the voice of that god rang out over the city. The many have suffered long enough. Unfortunately, Galerius' account just sort of stops after that, leaving a lot of questions unanswered. What became of him and the other people who lived here? What happened to all the golden statues? And did this mysterious oracle single-handedly undo the curse that had terrorized people for hundreds of years?
Thousands of years. Actually, that was me.
What? Oh, I see. For a moment there, I thought you were serious. Anyway, I think I found a way out through the aqueduct that brought water into the city. Follow me.
I'm right behind you. Oh, I wanted to explore the city. Goodbye.
I'm gonna pause here for a moment and make sure nobody else has ever lured into this temple.
Good idea.
You go on ahead, and I'll be there soon.
You're back! But you're alone. Does that mean you didn't find Al?
I found him. He'll be here in a moment.
Ah, what a relief. Thank you so much. I was beginning to think you'd both become trapped in there. Why don't you tell me what you discovered, while we wait?
I discovered you're not who you said you were. I remember meeting you 2,000 years ago.
Ah, I see. I thought you might. Well, now you know. I suppose you have questions.
Who are you really?
You can just call me Charon. if you like. I am sorry I was not completely honest with you when we first met. I do not enjoy deceiving people. Believe me, I do not. But I have learned, from 5,000 years of experience, that most people find comfort in familiarity, in gradual change, and coming to see the truth in their own time.
What truth is that?
That you died, of course. You were dead when I brought you here. My role, as the servant of the god of the underworld, has always been to assist the chosen to cross the threshold from the land of the living to the land of the dead.
How did I die?
Usually, when people do not remember how they died, it is because they suffered a terrible trauma. Most souls would rather not remember. Ask yourself honestly, do you really want to know?
I suppose, yes, I do want to know.
As you wish. You were murdered.
Pluto said the coins I had were the last in existence. What does that mean for you?
It means I am now bereft of purpose. There is nobody else to ferry here. Nobody to keep you company. After 5,000 years, the underworld has finally run its course.
I feel bad for you, honestly. Can you return us to the land of the living?
I see no point in keeping you here. But I have to ask one thing. That you keep this to yourself.
Look! Here comes Al now. Al! It's so good to see you. You were gone so long I thought I'd never see you again.
Kinda lost track of time in there. You wouldn't believe what we found. The ruins of a long-forgotten city. And there was a tablet describing an oracle who confronted a god and undid an ancient curse.
Sounds like quite a story. And I look forward to hearing all about it. But you two look exhausted. Why don't you hop in my boat and rest while I ferry you back to civilization?
Sounds good to me.
And you? Are you ready to go home?
Alright, Karen. Ferry is home. What the heck? This is so cool.
Hey, you made it. It's great to see you again. I hope you're adjusting to life as a civilian. I hear it takes a long time. Anyway, after everything you've been through, I thought you might appreciate some good news. So after we got back to the real world, I started doing some research into the people mentioned in Galerius' tablet, and I found something strange. I'm sorry I've been so cryptic. I've been dying to tell you, I just really wanted you to see this for yourself. Why don't you head on down there? I'll catch up with you at the other end.
Alright. I'm gonna check this out real quick. Ancient Roman statue of an unknown man in inscrutable pose. One hand seems to welcome, and the other warns. Seems like the one that was at the bottom of the cistern at that one point. These ones aren't from anything? Okay. Okay. Holy...
You're finally here. Remember me?
Oh my goodness. What? What? Okay. What? Yeah.
It's a crazy story. After you disappeared, Karen appeared and told us she was returning us to the world. Even gave us some coins to help us start our lives over. Only, for some reason, she returned us to your world instead of ours.
Look,
Anyway, I know we only ever had that one conversation, and I wasn't even sure if you'd remember me, but I wanted to say thanks for freeing us from the underworld and giving
I'm
us a second chance.
so
at
glad.
life.
You're gonna have such a hard time. What are you doing with yourself these days?
Oh, I used Charon's gift to buy a farm in Umbria. Got a villa on it too, with enough room for Dooley, of course.
Oh, that's the
It's hard
sweetest
work,
thing.
but I sleep soundly every night. I'm finally my own man, and I wouldn't change
gonna
it for
cry.
the world.
You guys basically. Oh, that's amazing. You're with Equitia now?
I know. I can't believe my luck either. But we're engaged and living together. We're planning to get married next spring. If you're going to be around, we'd
I will
love to see
be
you.
there. I will be there. Count me in. It's good to see you again.
Of course. There's a whole museum full of people waiting for a chance to thank you. So you better keep moving. We'll speak again soon, my friend.
That's amazing. You two, and then Dooley.
There he is.
Hello.
I need to talk to you now.
You're here. It's lovely to finally meet you. Galerius told me all about you.
Good to see you too.
So, you're the hero who somehow vanquished the last of the Roman gods. As I'm a priestess, you realize you've put me out of work. I'm just teasing. Actually, and it still feels a little sacrilegious to say this, I'm finding life after religion quite enjoyable.
What are you doing with yourself these days?
Galerius and I are engaged and expecting. We've just bought a lovely villa in the countryside with room for a large family, and Dooley too, of course. It feels like the world has just opened up for us. There's so much to learn, and so many more possibilities for our children than we ever imagined. We're just so thankful for what you did for us. For all of us.
I need to say that, I hope she gave you IDs as well, but I'm gonna gloss over that. How's Livia?
Oh, it's sweet of you to ask. She recovered nicely. In fact, she's here somewhere, if you'd like to ask her yourself.
I'll do that. It's good to see you again.
See you at the wedding, I hope.
Dooley.
Hello. I'm Dooley.
Hi, Dooley. I remember who you are.
Galerius said you're very nice and a big helper. Thank you for getting us out of the bad place. I didn't like it.
What are you doing with yourself?
I live at Galerius and Equitia's house. They look after me now and help me remember when I forget things, like brushing my teeth.
It's fun that you brush your teeth now. I'm sorry you never found your treasure.
Treasure? Oh, I forgot about that. I like my box now. Galerius got me a box that tells stories. It's my favourite thing.
Is it a radio or a TV? The story boxes are great, aren't they?
Yeah, they're fun.
It's good to see you
Bye-bye.
again. That's very enjoyable.
There he is.
Lori's depicting a great circular portal.
It's you.
Yes, it is me. Horatius. Join the soldiers.
Hi there, I'm Horatius.
Hi, Horatius.
I understand we have you to thank for giving us a second chance at life. And reuniting Scintilla with us as well. So, thank you.
What are you doing with yourselves these days?
I'm living up north and studying in the military academy in Modena. I'm going to be an officer one day. The world's changed a lot. But some things stay the same. Would you believe we're still studying military tactics from my time? Alexander the Great, Caesar, Hannibal Barca. Still, I have to keep challenging myself to let go of old ways of thinking and embrace the new. As Seneca wrote, the ones who pioneered our paths aren't our masters, but our guides.
Sorry you never got to see your girl again.
Ah, you remembered that. Thank you. I grieved for a time, But that's done. In the words of Epictetus, as those who rode behind triumphant generals remind them they are mortal, remind yourself your precious one isn't one of your possessions, but something given for now, not forever.
Well said. I'm not gonna say I'm glad you're coping. What the heck?
Thanks.
Whatever happened to your buddy Domitius?
He's not my... Oh, I see what you did there. Good one. He had more trouble adapting than most. He got himself disqualified from the UFC. So he started some kind of underground blood sport tournament, like we had in Rome. Suppose it appealed to people's baser instincts. And they say he made some good coin, killing a bunch of men like that. But his luck finally ran out, and his life along with it. You know what they say. Live by the sword, die by the sword.
You know, I could say this, but as someone who was in slavery for all that time, and forced to be a gladiator for so long, and then just coming into there and be under Malleolus, I don't think he had a good lease on life before he died in the first place, and so I am actually sad to hear that he didn't make it. So that's a shame.
Perhaps.
It's good to see you again.
And you. Farewell.
And your guys are looking at the stuff that you... Oh, I love it.
Hey,
Cynthia,
I take it you're the Oracle. Thanks for coming.
it's good to see you again.
Actually, I changed my name to Cynthia. I didn't want to be associated with Sentius after what happened.
Fair
I'm
enough.
not sure if you heard, but after you drove Pluto off, Proserpina emerged from the Great Temple. She knew right away what none of us had figured out about that psychopath. He'd been keeping my little sister locked up in the upper cistern all that time. But he's been dealt with. He's... you know what? The important thing is, we'll never see him again.
Except in the sequel. I mean, what are you doing with yourself these days?
Anything I want. I'm a woman of means in a vast new world. I can go wherever and do whatever I please. Of course, I mostly just stay in my villa and have my servant Alexa summon things for me, because it's just awful out there. Barbarians everywhere.
It's so good to see you. What happened to Sentius?
He's still there, all alone. The last golden statue in the underworld. Trapped in a metal shell, slowly losing his mind until the end
Holy
of time.
cow.
Eternal torment. Just what he deserves, if you ask me.
Yeah. No, I think that's right, because he tried to screw everyone over eternally so that he could live forever. So, he's getting his wish. He's living forever. Just encased in gold. It's good to see you again.
You too. See you around.
Evening.
Ulia?
You're the Oracle, right?
I am. Gent is fine.
Oh, of course, sorry. And I never got a chance to thank you for telling Galerius how to save my life. And of course, getting me and all of us out of a terrible situation.
What are you doing with yourself these days?
Oh, I barely recognize myself. I'm living in a house share in London with my wonderful girlfriend. And I'm studying English at university. Eventually, I want to travel the world and write about it. Turns out, it's about 30 times bigger than the Roman Empire ever was. Did you know there are entire continents Rome never knew existed?
Yeah.
And you can travel almost anywhere in an aircraft, which is rather like flying on a Pegasus, but much more comfortable. Oh, sorry, you already know all that, of course. I'm just so excited. There's so much to see and learn and write about.
I'm grinning, so it's great. Seeing the world with fresh eyes sounds wonderful.
I have noticed people from your time have no idea how fortunate they are. I hope to change that. One day.
Whatever happened to Malleolus and Claudia?
Last I heard, Malleolus kept insisting he was the last rightful ruler of the Roman Empire, and wound up being committed to a psychiatric hospital. As for Claudia, She was always so viciously unhappy. Someone said she'd blown all her money on wine, trying to drink herself back to the underworld. After the horrific way they treated Ulpius and me, I can't help feeling a sense of... what's that German word? Schadenfreude?
I think you're allowed to feel that way.
Thank you. You're very kind.
I love how it also didn't give me an option to say, oh, it's too bad what happened to them. I wouldn't have said that. But, no. Whatever happened to Aurelia?
Ugh. Someone told me she was boasting about getting her claws into some rich prince, and how she was going to be living the high life from now on. Even in your time, life still isn't fair.
That's
Apparently
true.
he'd proposed before they'd even met. And last I heard, she'd bought herself a first-class one-way ticket to join him in some exotic place called... what was it? Nigeria? Some people have all the luck.
So worry. Something tells me she's going to get what she deserves. It's the Oracle. I foresee terrible disappointment in her future.
Really?
I do.
I feel better
I
already.
100% do, and she
Thank you.
absolutely deserves it. Talk about, she played the game and she lost. Good to see you, Ilya.
You too. If you're ever in London, let me know. We can go to bars and drink wine and listen to the stories of the 9 million people who live there.
I'll take you up on that.
I hope so.
I will. Lucretia.
You are here. It's nice to finally meet you.
Hey, Lucretia.
Lucy is fine.
Oh.
I'm making an effort to blend in, as you can see. We are all trying to keep a low profile.
By gathering in the same
If the
place.
world knew we died 2,000 years ago and were suddenly brought back to life 12 months ago, they'd never leave us alone.
You're smart.
Speaking of which, I wanted to say thank you in person. I'd say the gods smile on you, but I hear you drove the last of them off. So,
What are you doing with yourself these days?
I'm studying to get into medical school. As much as I resented the responsibility of keeping everyone in the city alive, when it ended, I realized I missed it. So I guess I'll just keep saving the world, if begrudgingly, one patient at a time.
It's good to see you.
You too. Don't be a stranger.
I won't, Lucy. I'll come back and see you sometime. You guys are looking at
Hello.
Apollo. Yep.
Hey.
Ah, I love it.
And here you are. It's wonderful to see you again.
Bow ties are cool. Good to see you too.
Oh, and by the way, I go by Philip now. A fine Greek name. I never thought I'd leave that cave, let alone the city. And now I'm living in the 21st century. What a time to be alive. And it seems I have your catabasis to thank for it.
My what now? What are you doing with yourself these days?
I'm working as a consultant to the Faculty of Classics at Cambridge University, helping fill the odd gap in their knowledge. Not that I need the money, but I do love being around enlightened minds again.
Do you still think Utopia is out of reach?
Aha! You remember that? I have to admit, I've been profoundly impressed by the advances humans have made these past 2 millennia. The sum total of human knowledge available at our fingertips, miraculous modern medicines, and a series of prosperous democracies. Your contemporaries have come further toward utopia than I ever thought possible, though there's still a way to go.
Yes. Agreed. It was good to see you again.
My sincere thanks once again.
You're welcome, Philip. It's nice to know your name. Georgius, my guy.
Greetings. You must be the legendary Oracle. It is a sincere privilege to finally make your acquaintance. I am Georgius.
Good to see you.
I am told we have you to thank for freeing us from Hades, and for that, I am most grateful.
What are you doing with yourself these days?
I am reacquainting myself with Greece. It has changed so much over the last 2,000 years, I barely recognize it. This is at once heartbreaking and thrilling. Perhaps one day Once I have seen all of this new Greece and sampled her delights, I will settle down in Santorini in a villa overlooking the Azure Aegean Sea. I hope you will join me there and regale me with the story of how you faced off against the fearsome god of the underworld and won.
Consider me there. It's good to see you again.
You too, my friend.
Fabia.
You're the one we've been waiting for. I'm Fabia.
Hi, Fabia.
I wanted to say thanks for sending Galerius to save my life. I don't know how you knew, but I would have been crushed by that shrine for sure.
You're welcome.
I'm just so happy to be here with you and everyone together again, even if it's just for one more night.
What are you doing with yourself these days?
Well, it's not like I have to work with all the silver Charon gave me, so I just do what makes me happy. Mostly that means baking for my friends and looking at memes while binging TV shows in yoga pants. What a time to be alive.
Agreed. I'm so glad you're happy. Sounds like a life well spent.
Oh, it really is.
After all the struggle you had to go through, yes.
You too.
Magnificent museum, is it not?
Archaeologist's insight. A Greek statue of Demeter, the goddess of harvest, and the mother of Persephone, or she's known in the Romans Proserpina. So that I got the insight because we're now in a museum that'll tell me. Oh no.
Some soiree, innit?
Oh goodness.
Hello at last. You must be the oracle I've heard so much about. I'm Dacius.
Hi, Dacius.
Listen, I wanted to express my sincere appreciation for what you did. If it wasn't for you, I'd never been able to sell all those useless old relics I accumulated. Whatever you did in that temple made me a very wealthy man. Thank you.
No need to thank me. It was entirely unintended.
Such acerbic wit. I love it.
What are you doing with yourself these days?
I took the money I made from selling my trinkets and started investing in the stock market. That's where the real money is now. In fact, I was hoping to ask your advice, you being the oracle and future seer and all that, on which stocks I should invest in next. I can't decide between fossil fuels, tobacco, gambling and arms. What would you recommend?
I hate you. I can't really see the future, I'm afraid.
Oh, don't be like that. You can tell your old pal Dacius. I won't take no for an answer.
DVD rentals have a bright future. Broadcast television is going to be the next big thing. Print media is going to make a huge comeback. DVD rentals, because that might actually turn into something if we get a good show. This actually has a lot of good stuff going on in print media, and it might have a comeback. But DVDs, I don't see it.
Oh, of course, yeah. I was just thinking the same thing. I'll go home and buy up as much stock as I can tonight. I'm going to make a bloody fortune.
Enjoy it. I'll be going now.
Of course, don't let me keep you. Thanks again for the tips, my friend.
Good evening.
Octavia?
Oh, hello. It's lovely to meet you. I've heard so much about you.
Nice to see you too.
I'm thankful that you're here. I was sure the person who drove off the last pagan god would have more important things to do than visit the likes of us. But thank you for coming and for saving our lives. What you did was extraordinary, and I'll never forget it.
What are you doing with yourself these days?
I'm living in Rome again, in a charming little flat by the Tiber. Not far from my old place.
Well, that's really nice.
I'm training to be a crisis counselor. After you sent Galerius to persuade Ulpius not to take his own life, I was inspired. I just want to spend the rest of my life helping people, like you helped him.
That is touching. Sounds like a noble cause. Good on you.
Thank you. That means a lot.
It was good to see you.
And you. Oh, and I hope this isn't too forward, but some of us are going out for a drink after this, if you'd like to join us.
That sounds good. I'm in.
Wonderful. I'll see you soon.
That's very sweet of her. Also, she said that might be too forward, which she said that last time as well. I think she thinks I'm attractive, which is funny. Greek statue of a lion. The Greeks had no idea what a lion looked like.
Greetings.
Good to see you looking well, Olivia.
Thank you for your kind words and for liberating us all. In all the time I was in the underworld, I never once imagined that I might end up in a place so much like Elysium.
Read any good poems lately?
Ah, you remember that. I'm a little tired of Ovid, but that's all right. I have 2,000 years worth of poetry to catch up on now. I'm already up to the 19th century, and am quite enjoying the work of a fellow named Poe. I think I may have found a kindred spirit.
I was just going to suggest
Men
Poe.
have called me mad, but the question is not yet settled whether madness is or is not the loftiest intelligence.
Well said. What are you doing with yourself these days?
I'm recovering. Octavia was kind enough to let me stay with her for a while, at least until I'm well enough to be independent again.
That's good. It's good to see you.
And you. Farewell, friend.
Alright, into the Egyptian stuff. Ancient statue of Anubis, the ancient Egyptian god of mummification and embalming, among other things.
Plundered any more tombs lately, my friend?
Not recently, no. Good to see you too.
I must say, I am ashamed of the way I acted when we first met. If I had known you would go on to confront and triumph over the tyrant masquerading as the Lord of Silence, I would never have blocked your passage.
Don't worry about it. It all worked out in the end. We're all friends here.
You are most gracious. I too would like to offer my thanks for releasing us from that place, and for your role in bringing us here. This world is truly wondrous.
What are you doing with yourself these days? You know, I say, and even Dacius, but he kind of gives me like, he's gonna come crawling back at some point to all of us. Maybe it'll reform him.
For a time, I returned to Alexandria, but they have no need of another fisherman, and I came to see there is nothing for me there. Instead, I have decided to follow the custom of your youths and backpack the world. It is a great adventure, and I have met many people from many cultures.
I'm glad to hear that.
I spent the first 25 years of my life avoiding the 42 sins that would deny me access to the afterlife. Now, I think it is time I had some fun.
Sounds like you earned it.
Indeed.
It's good to see you.
Thank you, Oracle.
Please just call me Gent. A statue of Kirti, the Egyptian ram-headed deity believed by the Egyptians to ferry the deceased to the underworld. He is associated with death and Osiris, the god of the underworld.
Hello there.
Scintilla. Hi.
Oh, I go by Gabriella now.
Gabriella.
I didn't want to be reminded of that monster every time I heard my own name.
I'm sorry I brought it up.
After you drove Pluto off, Proserpina came and released me, and that monster got what was coming to him.
I'm sorry, I had no idea. It sounds like he got what he deserved.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing with yourself these days?
I'm living with Ulpius on a little vineyard in Umbria. It's even more wonderful than I dreamed it would be. I'm so grateful to you for making sure he's still with us. If you're ever passing through the region, I hope you'll come and visit us. You can try some of our very own wine.
I might just do that. I hope you guys are going to help pay for me to get to these places, because I am living off like a retired soldier's salary. And let me tell you, even though it was Spec Ops, I don't think I'm making that much money. And all of you got silver when you popped out. I don't remember getting anything like that. So, just saying. Might just do that. It's good to see you.
Thanks. You too.
Ulpius.
It's nice to finally put a face to the name. I'm Ulpius.
Good to see you.
I understand I have you to thank for sending Galerius to save my life. The way you just showed up out of the blue and stopped me from making a terrible mistake, I'll be forever in your debt.
What are you doing with yourself these days?
I'm living with Gabriella in Umbria. We finally bought the little vineyard we always dreamed of. It'll be a little while before we know what we're doing, but every day I look at her And this extraordinary new world with all its beauty, and I think, what if I'd given up hope? And missed out on all of this? So we're living each day to the fullest. And we end them all the same way, sitting together on our terrace with a glass of our wine, which the locals say is almost drinkable now, and watching the sunset over the rolling hillside. And I couldn't be happier.
I'm not much for wine, but I'll see what I can taste. I'm glad you're happy.
Thank you. I wouldn't be here without you. You too.
Ancient Sumerian statue of Kmet Tabal, the bird-headed deity, was said to help the dead across the river.
Evening.
Rufius, my man.
Nice to meet you.
Oh, you're so much nicer. It's good to see you too, Rufius.
I go by Rufus now. New start, new name. Oh, and thanks, by the way, for what you did. Sorry, I'm no good with the mushy stuff.
I get it. It turns out you were right. The statues really were watching us.
Huh. Good to know. Anyway, it was good practice for the new world. Security cameras and smartphones everywhere. Got to stay vigilant.
I know exactly what you mean. That's unfortunately true. What are you doing with yourself these days?
I live with Virgil in Rotterdam, not far from where he grew up. It's very modern. Destroyed in the war, and it rebuilt itself. Good place for a fresh start. Haven't decided what I'm going to do with my life yet. One adjustment at a time.
It's good to see you again.
You too. Look us up next time you're in the Netherlands. We're grateful.
Virgil. Still an architect?
It's so nice to finally meet you. I've heard so much about you. I wanted to thank you personally for getting us out of there. And for helping Rufus come to terms with himself. He may come off a little gruff, but once you get past that, he's a lovely fellow.
What are you doing with yourself these days?
I'm studying to be an architect again, and living with Rufus in our beautiful flat in Rotterdam. Just down the river from Nijmegen, where I grew up. Of course, it's improved immensely since I was there last. Gleaming futuristic buildings and clean streets full of educated, accepting people. You natives of the 21st century have no idea how fortunate you are.
It's good to see you again, and I'm glad that you're having a good life.
You too. As Rufus said in his own laconic way, if you're ever in the Netherlands, we'd love to show you around. It's the least we could do.
I may just take you up on that.
Hi.
Nurgle. I got him with a beard. He
Hi.
looked a lot more like Rufus, though. Am I missing anyone? Is that everyone? Statue of Lamassu, a Sumerian protective deity with a human head. Sumerian plaque written in command form: the sins of the many shall become the suffering of the many. Sins of the one shall become the suffering of the many. Nurgle the fierce one. There's the dice tower. All must walk the path to where the laws of Daves help with the virtuous paradise in this city beneath the earth. The ravenous hunger of the avaricious is sated at the banks of the stream, but in vain, for none of them from here may return. Wrong about that. We're all back. Garum. This block of wood has an ichthys. Greek symbol adopted by early Christians as a secret symbol of their faith. The many shall suffer for the sins of the one. Embalming tools.
There you are. I hope you enjoyed that. Now,
I did.
There's one more person I wanted to introduce you to. I think you know her.
Proserpina? Holy...
Sorry if I frightened you. Just a little joke I've been saving for a long, long time.
I recognize that voice.
Allow me to introduce myself properly. I am Proserpina, former goddess of the cycle of life and renewal, and now a regular mortal. I wanted to meet you in person, and thank you for freeing all these people, and me. I hate to think what would have happened to us without your intervention.
You were whispering to me all along?
Indeed. Suffice it to say that while Pluto was controlling the eyes and ears of each golden statue, I was able to control their tongues and whisper to you when he was distracted. I am sorry my messages were so cryptic. There were only ever brief windows in which I could speak to you without being detected.
You did what you could. Thank you. You created the time loop.
I did. I may have given up my immortality, but I still retain my gifts as the goddess of the cycle of life and renewal. After witnessing Pluto punish countless poor souls over thousands of years, I knew this generation, the final wave, would not survive. So I tried to give them a way to buy more time. A second chance. Rather, as many second chances as they needed to avoid his wrath.
What became of Pluto?
I don't know what happened to him. I haven't heard from him, and I rather hope it stays that way.
What became of Charon?
Oh, she inherited dominion over the underworld. Last time we spoke, she was working on a new world of some kind. She wouldn't say what it was, but I'd be surprised if you don't run into her again. I imagine we all will, one day.
Interesting. It was nice meeting you.
And you, although it feels like I've known you forever. Oh, and one last thing. Do you remember all those golden statues scattered throughout the city?
Navia, that's who's missing. Of course.
Good, because they remember you. Well done, my friend. Of all the heroes who ever journeyed to the underworld and returned, none came close to achieving what you did.
Aww.
Hercules, Orpheus, Theseus, and Aeneas would be proud.
Wow. That was amazing. I wonder how things turned out in all the other timelines. And even though it's in some type of sauce by some standards, cereal is not considered a soup, and even though it is, in fact, meat inside of a casing that is bread both on the sides and on the bottom, we still don't decide that a hot dog is somehow a taco? How are we supposed to have objective morality if these are things that we have arbitrary rules about?
The many shall suffer for the sins of the one.